There, my handsome and pretty little Cobras, and welcome back to the Cobra's Nest. For those who are here new, my name is Mignon Cobra and I make minimalism videos. So today's video is going to be advice I would give my younger self. So I got 10 things that I want to talk about, and I'm making this video because I went for a run and I was reflecting on my life, as one does when one goes through a midlife crisis. And there's actually a lot of things that I'm actually really proud of that I accomplished in my life. There's some stuff that I feel like if I could go back in time and give myself, my younger self, better advice, these are some of the things that I would say. And I figured since my audience is a lot younger than me, maybe you guys might relate with these tips. And for my older subscribers, maybe you guys might agree with some of my tips. So if you're curious what I would tell my younger self, let's get right into it. Let's get it, let's go. Woo. Okay, number one, you don't need that much makeup. So this is clearly a personal struggle of mine. For those of you who've been following me for a period of time, you guys know that that was something that was like a personal, I guess, like journey or struggle of mine. I love makeup. Honestly, I still love makeup. I just don't really wear it as much as I used to, which is like kind of surprising to me because I thought I was gonna keep wearing it forever. But some advice I give my younger self is that, like, not saying like you can't have makeup, but I think that I really didn't need as much makeup as I thought that I did. I certainly didn't need, you know, the whole standard of an IKEA filled vanity of makeup. Honestly, all I really needed was enough to just fit a bag, and that would be it. Yeah, I mean, the reason that I say that is because, like, makeup was a crutch for me. I never really felt pretty growing up because of bullying that happened in my childhood. So because of that, I always just felt like I was never pretty. Honestly, it wasn't until like I got older and I experienced pretty privilege that I realized that like I didn't need makeup. I really did think like I wasn't pretty. I only was tricking people into thinking I was pretty because of the makeup. So anyway, the advice I give my younger self would be like, yeah, you really didn't need that much makeup. I think that you might have benefited from a little bit of therapy. A little bit of self-love, but obviously that's really harsh to say because like how could I have known, right? So that's always something that you can only say in retrospective, but I don't know if this could help anybody else out. But for me personally, if I could go back in time, I would tell my younger self that like you don't need that much makeup, a little bit of concealer, a little bit of foundation, maybe a mascara, and like you were good to go. You really don't need that much makeup. Turns out I wasn't even able to finish some of them before they expired, so could have saved myself a pretty coin. Okay, number two, in that vein, I would have told my younger self is that you need to find yourself beautiful. And that is still a personal struggle of mine. Up until recently, I actually, you know, if you guys saw that video, I told myself like you don't need a nose job, which thank God, that's like saving myself like another 10-15 grand, because I kind of realized at the end of the day through like the journey of, I guess, adulthood, I kind of realized that like really it's nobody else's responsibility except my own to find myself beautiful. So that's some advice I would give my much younger self, maybe like 10 years ago version me, maybe Nat in her 20s. I would have told her that like honestly, you can't be here waiting for everyone else to validate you, or you can't wait for people to call you pretty. You're gonna have to figure that out on your own. And that's something that has really freed me, because I think that honestly, even when people validated me on YouTube telling me I was pretty, it wasn't until I accepted and I told myself that I was beautiful that I finally felt beautiful, if that makes any sense. So I think I would have told myself is that like you need to figure out yourself beautiful, and you know, disregard what other people say. Because like if I was listening to people on the internet, honestly, I mean, someone telling me I need a nose job, well, like, have I no self-respect? So that's some advice I give myself. Okay, number three, was all of that education worth it? I have lamented on my channel about how sometimes I have like a deep-rooted life crises where I ask myself like, was that much education really worth it? Like I could have gone out and just worked. But I think that now that I'm older, I think I have a different perspective on education. I really don't think that education, or at least my education, was a waste of time. I'm an educated individual now. My degree is something that no one can take away from me. That was something that I earned, I studied for, I paid for. So when I think about it like that, now that I'm older, I actually really do appreciate the amount of time and money and effort that I put into my education, because like honestly, like I'm educated now and I feel like no one can really take that away. So because of that, I feel like, yeah, I do think I think my education was worth it now. I take a lot of pride in my multiple 3 degrees. If you guys are wondering what those degrees were, I have a degree in neurology, a degree in dentistry, and a teacher's education, like a bachelor's in education. Jeez. Clearly had nothing better to do. Okay, number 4, was being that frugal worth it? So for those of you who followed my channel for a period of time, you guys know that I was extremely frugal for 5 years paying off med school. So now that I'm older and it has been some time since I've paid off my education, was being that frugal worth it? I think it was. I actually realized how much money you can actually save by just being frugal, by like not actually like spending your money. really shocked me. Like when I think back to it, I saved, you know, $70,000. I was like, that's insane. And I did it with like a part-time job. So I was like, I think it really has taught me some great fundamentals. I don't think if I had experienced that myself, I don't think I would have believed when people are like, frugality will put you ahead. I would have felt like people are lying and none of it's true. But there's something to be said about experiencing something yourself. So I definitely would go back in time and tell my younger self that being that frugal or being that disciplined actually does pay off. And it's actually kind of set the foundation for me moving forward. I'm not bad with money because of it. So I think that yes, it was totally worth it. Okay, and number 5, some advice I give my younger self, even though technically it doesn't count right now, but I would tell my younger self, your natural hair is the best. I actually think that going blonde finally cemented in my mind that there's no hair color out there that's better than my own. Like I always held off because I always wanted to go ash blonde. Like that was like a lifetime. Like I really wanted to be ash blonde for the longest of time. I think since like I want to say since I started dyeing my hair in grade 9, I've been trying to achieve that ash colorway. But now that I have it, not that I'm being ungrateful, I love this hair color. I think it's very, very, very pretty. I think ash blonde is still a very beautiful color, but the sheer amount of maintenance that I have to put into it, because it isn't my natural hair color, like I have to like tone it, I have to do hair masks, I can't wash my hair every other day because like the hair is a lot more fragile. So I was just like, if I could go back in time, even like a year ago, Nat, I would have told her that like, you know what, Nat, you kind of hit it right when you said that natural hair is the best. I take it back. I actually do think like once this grows out, like I'm just gonna rock my natural hair up until like I have grays. So I was right. Natural hair is the best. Okay, number 6. Another question I would ask myself as a Libra, my friendships were really important to me. So a question I would have asked older me that now I can answer now that I'm older me is like a question that I would answer myself is that no, actually you learned to be alone. I had a really bad habit of like sucking on my friends like for emotional support. I couldn't self-soothe, which was I think probably the reason that some of my friendships really didn't work out. Nobody wants to be your free therapist. So I think that's something that is a blessing, at least I think for everybody involved, for both my friends and I, is that like I no longer rely on them for emotional support. I am my own emotional support. So I feel like that's a part of growing up and a part of maturity. So I would have told my younger self, I mean, yeah, as sad as it is, I really did think my friends would be in my life forever, but I think that the relationship I had made with my friends was not healthy, and I think it's better for them. Like they don't have to listen to my problems anymore. So yeah, and I learned to be alone, which I think in itself is a blessing. Okay, the next question is, was starting a YouTube channel worth it? So there was so much fear in my mind about starting a YouTube channel. I wanted to start a YouTube channel when I was quite young. I think I was in grade 11 when I wanted to start it, and I did not start it until 10 years later when I was in 2nd year of med school. So yeah, if I could go back and tell my younger self, I would have told myself, yeah, starting a YouTube channel is definitely worth it. I think among some of my bigger life accomplishments, I think having a successful YouTube channel has been one of my life blessings, one of the things that like I look on fondly and I feel very happy. Not to mention, it's been a very creative outlet for me because, as I've mentioned, I don't work for like a company or I don't have a contract. My YouTube channel is purely creative and full autonomy. So I feel really happy running a YouTube channel. I mean, yes, I do take breaks and yes, I do complain, but if I could tell my younger self, I would tell her, yes, definitely start that YouTube channel. It will be very fulfilling. Okay, number 8. Speaking of social media though, while I do think very highly of YouTube, I want to say the next point is don't go so much on social media. While I think YouTube is very beneficial, I actually have a very negative opinion of Instagram, especially now that I have actually been using Instagram since it started. Being an older millennial, I have lived the entire duration of Instagram since it started. I think I'll put down here when Instagram started. I got Instagram when it first started, and I don't think I developed a very healthy relationship with it. I had placed a lot of my self-worth on the number of followers that I had, my interaction with people on there, and just putting a persona or a facade on Instagram that was just so not healthy for me. It created a really unhealthy relationship. Not to mention, I developed a lot of, as embarrassing as it is to admit this, a lot of parasocial relationships with people who don't even know who I was. I genuinely thought that the Instagrammers that I followed were my friends. I know that's ridiculous saying this. Granted, you have to admit, I was younger when I first started using Instagram, but the advice I give myself is that you really don't need to go that much on social media. You don't need to compare yourself to famous famous Instagrammers. You don't need to validate yourself with like the number of followers that you have. So I'm really glad that I don't really put much importance on Instagram anymore. I feel like my mental health has definitely improved. I don't even keep it on this phone. I keep it on my old phone. I keep it on my work phone. On my personal phone, I don't have Instagram on there anymore. So honestly, I go on Instagram maybe every like 2 days and I feel so much better. Okay, number 9, and this is a personal one. If you don't want to hear this, just skip tip number 9 if this is triggering for you. But I realized like I didn't have to starve myself. If you guys have been following my journey, especially like way back, 'cause my channel is like 6 years old now, I used to have like a really unhealthy relationship with dieting, which I no longer have. I don't have that unhealthy relationship with food anymore, or with my body, or I guess with like body dysmorphia and all that stuff. Like I have bad days, but like honestly they're far and few in between. I say like every couple of years as opposed to like every day. Yeah, I would go back and I would tell myself, my younger self, that like you don't need to be, you know, like a stick to consider yourself beautiful. Like that is just so unhealthy. You don't need to do these like crazy, you know, fasting sessions, fasting windows. You don't need to starve yourself. You don't need to count calories. Like I didn't need to do any of those things. Like I would have been better off just developing like a healthier relationship with food. And it's okay to eat for pleasure, and it's okay to eat sometimes when you're emotional. I was just so hard on myself, and that dieting world, like it's really unnecessary. You're beautiful without that stuff. But obviously I can only say that now that I've been recovered for like, when did I recover? I recovered in 2019. Wow. 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23. I've been recovered for 5 years now, so half a decade. So I mean, sometimes some things can only be said in retrospective. Okay, number 10, and this is my favorite one. You deserve to be happy. The monks were right. So for those of you who've been following my journey for a period of time, you guys know that I went through a monk phase. I think like, what was it, like in 2020? It's pretty hardcore, like monk mode, and like I was really into like Zen and Buddhism. And one of my favorite things that I took out of that whole like Buddhistic experience is that like monks said that all you need to do to be happy is just decide to be happy. And I really didn't believe it. I was like, no, you don't. You need to have money to be happy. You need to be thin to be happy. You need to be famous to be happy. There were so many things I needed before I could accept being happy. Now that it's been some time and I've accomplished some of the things that I thought were going to generate happiness and they didn't, I was happy when I chose to be happy, that I realized that the monks were right. You just decide to be happy. And I guess I didn't know how to be happy. I felt like I didn't deserve to be happy. I felt like I kind of bought into the societal mantra that I needed to have certain success parameters in place in order to decide to be happy. And it's just like, why? Like, aren't I an autonomous being? Like, I don't have to play a victim anymore. If I want to be happy, like, I'm going to choose to be happy. And that has been something that has really freed me a lot, is that like, yeah, I'm really happy. Like, I don't care. I don't need anybody else's permission to be happy. And that's really freed me a lot, is that like, yeah, I mean, like, I can still be ambitious and I can still be hardworking, but I can still be happy. That was something that I was always waiting for a better future before I felt like I could finally be happy. And I felt like that was part of my delayed gratification lifestyle. But I don't know, I'm not really in that phase anymore. Ever since I started like my effortless era, I've been very happy and very like free, and it's just like I'm happy. And I feel like that's something, because I love myself, and I would want younger me to have been happy, just like I'm pretty sure older me would want me to be happy too. So just sharing that in case somebody else needs to hear that, because I feel like that's not a popular notion in our Western society. Like, you're not allowed to be happy unless you're like uber accomplished. I don't know, comment down below if you agree or disagree with that, because like I feel like that's a common narrative, and like that is like a personal struggle of mine. So I don't know, that might be somebody else's too, especially if you're like an ambitious individual. So yeah, that is the advice I would give to my younger self. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below your thoughts. I'd love to hear it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.